Welcome in, welcome in. Ground rising. All right. Integrity, wholeness, connective vibes, oneness, unity, helping, showing forth love, gratitude. Why am I coming with this? Because tools and planes that we need to gravitate to instead of being inversioned as we break the programming, do things new. Welcome aboard. Welcome in. I really want, part of what I am is being real and being a realist on many different levels. We're here to be real because we're looking for conscious growth. We see what we see outside of what we and know what we see, and we actually have been able to take it, go through it, and get it. What is outside of us, what's always trying to entangle us with concepts, precepts, indoctrination, teachings that really don't advance, but always has locked up or reverted or even controlled opposition, psyoping, and all this. But using and I mentioned on my last video when we did denial, how'd you guys like denial? That's heavy. Just take one word like that, break it down, and see that the aspect of it is very deep rooted, what it will do if you stay in that plane. I broke down how the childlike plane is, but that's also a beginning of something if you don't curtail it with, but we've all did that. But how about co-opting against your own self by your own thinking, by your own fears, yourself from going to the next level because you co-op yourself. And one of the key co-opting of co-opting yourself is, besides believing what them to the outside tell you, who always do this, and that's why discernment is so powerful, because you can discern. I can see, know you, this is how you always roll, this is how you make your sandwiches every time. I know how you make your sandwiches. I know what portions of what you put in it, to even what you put in it for taste. That's discernment. You know that you know stuff, and you're easily being able to see, because that which you should discern would be popping off to you or saying. And I even said, and I mentioned in the last video, so discernment's heavy. I mentioned on the last video that a lot of it's happening within our community, right? And I even was thinking about a certain thing I'm going to end up doing a video on, and I won't mention it here, maybe at the end, but I just kind of thought about this, so let me write it down, because you know what? On a former video, I mentioned, I got to do that song, and I got like the revelation in here while doing another video, and then I didn't write it down, and I'm like, I don't remember what that song is. I'm trying to remember it, right? Trying to get that memory working, and I didn't. So when you start looking at that, right, of that aspect of what you're talking about, that would be almost a word of the day from what I just said. And I said something about co-opting yourself, right? And so you start thinking about it. How do you do that? But that's for another day, Brett. That's why I will write things or say things out loud here sometimes, so I can go back and say, I remember I said it on them, because so much comes to you when you're in a certain space of revelating and getting it. You may not be in that space later when you're doing other things, and you come out of one area and you go into another area, even of consciousness. But this other area of consciousness, there was something was really good and special that you needed to remember because you needed to share. And then get older, you'll start seeing, definitely, I go through that now. Obviously, because I'll share it with you. I'm just an open book of, just be real. Just be real. We all have issues. We all have certain aspects of ourselves. There's a humanity side to us. I mean, I have been a life coach / not like the coaches you're seeing now where people are saying, I'm a life coach and I went and got my certificate. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about really doing the work. I worked in mental health for better part 2 decades plus. And I was a youth and even up to high school football coach and other sports of basketball and baseball. So I was always in the midst of covering up and connecting. And I was able to live in Merced, California, which was a very, very distinct thing about Merced, California. When you take the goodness of it, is it's very, very well rounded. You'll have, it's not one race of people. It's very, very almost intricately. It used to be where you would have a certain race, a certain race. So my football teams were always, almost want to say one third, and one third when you dealt with blacks, Hispanics, and I hate the color system we've talked about here, and what we call white folks and blacks with brown, which none of us are crayons. And got counseling, trust, interacting with parents, and then you start seeing that you have all these aspects, and the reality of it is you seeing things from certain people that you would not see from other people, and even the difficulties of going through different things from extreme poverty, not having the connection, or almost you could have abandonment issues, right? Not getting enough attention, maybe not eating, but I also was able to get a lot of families and a lot of single mamas to trust me with their child for 2 to 3 hours, the days of practice and the days of games, because they trusted me and they believed in me that I wouldn't put their children in harm's way, if I can say so myself, harm's way. And I count that as a real experience, and I appreciate it because it allowed me to connect with all kinds of different folks from different backgrounds, races, or whatever, and build collaboration with them. And when we get into our humanity part, we have a humanity part that doesn't need to be denied. What we need to understand is the balance of this with stuff that, that we don't need to be as we evolve, if I can use that word and not offend you. Because evolving is a truth. I'm not talking about evolution in what it came from in Darwinism, if I can get really, I'm talking about really evolving, changing, we're transforming here in these spaces. Why do some people transform and many people end up, you talk to them and you look at them and you end up talking and things just don't make sense on belief systems? And I'm not just talking religion, anything that you keep doing over and over and doesn't change, right? And to think by doing the same thing, you're going to get change. Some would say that is a sign of being crazy because you're not leveraging what you should have learned maybe multiple times. You keep doing it. And we know there's all kinds of things that go with that, but we're going to get into something that goes with this on higher degrees of spirituality. Yes, we're going to get into this. I'm going to share a screen, got some things to read, got some, as we look at this, it's heavy to me, right? Because this really makes sense to me, because I've seen it over and over in the past, but then even as you raise higher, you can see it on a more higher scale. This impacts everybody. It's almost like, who do we choose? Well, let's choose the worst of all, of the one that's just kind of better than, but they're both bad. We don't really like them, but we like them more than we dislike them less than the one we like. We really dislike, when really we're either pool, you're kind of swimming in a toxicity, not kind of, you are, or could be swimming in toxicity. And then what would not alarm us that we're doing that, or trigger us to realize what we're doing, because there's definitely a lack of awareness. But let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right, and all right. I guess I don't need to, I guess I could just keep it like that. Yeah, that's cool. It doesn't matter now. I want it more expanded. There we go. And this is something that I had thought about and then kind of had heard and then looked into myself, because it made sense, but I didn't realize it almost had a term to it already established, nothing new. I thought this was just kind of something that was happening, and we would look at it the conscious community was observing it, and obviously in the past it got observed even in through this aspect of it, and it's called paradigm blindness. Blindness to the paradigm that you are living in, right? We're going to get into this. So even this is big enough for me to read without glasses. The idea people, groups, or organizations are unable or willing to accept challenges of their own core ways of understanding the world. This is heavy. This includes their worldviews, or Welton Shang. When people become too entrenched in particular ways of thinking or set of beliefs, they may be unable to consider alternate perspectives or explanations for things. The paradigm blindness, and what this is saying, is lack of being able to be mutable. And seeing something doesn't really work for you, but you're so invested in the paradigm of it, even though you're entrenched in toxicity, you're not able to take another perspective, which is another Greek here. Now we're talking about true degrees, through true gnosis, through two, I'm talking about the real higher realm of integration of knowledge, or knowledge they won't teach you in college, or being able to transform, make choices in a dime, be flexible, versatile, or realize your way's not working and I need another perspective. And that's why I said here, when you look at the word angle, you're getting another angle. You move a little bit more degrees to the right or left. You take an angle of 30 degrees. You angle it to 60 degrees. Guess what happens? You get another perspective. You got twice as much perspective. Hear what I'm saying? You got twice as much perspective, which will change your angle, which is also a different perspective. An angle is an angle of light. That's where we get the word angel, because when the angle of light gives you another perspective, it changes the message. And angel actually means message, because angel, if you flip the words around, the letters, it's the same word. Angle and angel have the same words. You just flip them around. Angel has A-N-G-E-L. Angle has A-N-G-L-E. Same word. It's an angle of light, or degrees change. 60 degrees is more than 30 degrees. You get another perspective. But this is people caught in a paradigm of they can't change perspectives no matter the toxicity. You talk about being stuck, blind, leading the blind and falling in the ditch. Stuckness, right? Stuck. Let's see if they show some more here. But set in beliefs, and that's the key before we go to the next part. Beliefs, and we talk here heavily about beliefs. Beliefs are not based on fact. They're not truth. Beliefs can be, you can believe anything. And when you even will take your beliefs and try to make them historical or factual, that's paradigm blindness, because it's not. It could just be a story, mythology, or any belief system. I believe this. Belief's not a factual. There's a difference between gnosis, knowing, and believing. Right here, when I read this, the beliefs are the cognitive dissonance connection here. There's something about the programming, getting into the belief system, and it's almost like putting a clog in the wheels where the wheels can't spin. They're now going clunk, 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 stuck, clunk, 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 and you keep trying to turn it on, it's clunk, clunk, and you stay in the same paradigm of blindness, stuckness, can't see. Blind. This is where you would get the blind, lead the blind, and where do they fall in? They fall. I mean, you talking about falling from 3D, fall in the ditch after you're in 3D. You're talking about going into a lower place. This is not a good situation to get into. Many have this, and it's from the programming, and the belief systems are really the key here. It can come from culture, it can come from indoctrination, and culture can be indoctrinated when it's out of organic fields given to you by conquerors. This happens over and over, given to you by conquerors. And now your belief systems, it might not have been the core of what you were before when say your culture was organic, or very much a connection even with your own spirituality, say tribal, right? But tribalism can totally be turned into this, if not integrated. But the belief systems infused into nature, a religious belief system infused into nature. Now, your nature was a paradigm of not truth and a witch and had no value when you knew it was a value of values in your culture. So now the culture's been hijacked, which caused paradigm blindness. And now you have a belief system. So there's something about the belief systems getting in the core of the access of this programming that sets off traps within the programming in your mind. If that makes sense. It does to me. I'm just kind of seeing this from another view. And let's read what else they might show us. Not able to look at something different, not able to, but before I read, unable to consider, not even consider. That's a good word to look up, consider. Consider. Alternatives, something different, another way you can pivot, be flexible. Perspectives, different angles. Like I said, perspectives are different angles. 190 degree is a higher perspective of degree than a 60 degree angle. 180 is high, twice the amount of 90. You're not seeking more perspective, which would enhance your knowledge to maybe realize there's a way out and you don't have to swim in the toxic pool. Because this even goes into all levels of stuff of what we get and receive by a system that doesn't really nurture us, that doesn't come from the real, but comes from programming and belief systems. Paradigm blindness can prevent innovative problem solving and creativity. So right now you know that if you can't do this, you can't function in your creative aspect of the other side of your mind. Heavy. This is a clog. You need some spiritual Drano to open up the clog, right? Get that stuff out. Go get a plunger for your toilet. But your perspective is to remain in one place instead of unclogging. You're not looking for alternative ways to problem solve. That would be a problem solve. For example, some say the paradigm blindness can be a serious threat to directors who don't challenge their assumptions. Assumption means assume. We used to say it means it makes an ass out of you and me, right? That used to be an old-time thing we used to say. It can lead to directors saying things like, this will never happen. Think about that. This will never happen. By saying that, this will never happen, you keep creating this will never happen because you're stuck. You're in that perspective of it. Actually, your creations are dissolving, are tearing you down, destroying. That won't impact on your organization when discussing disruptive technologies. Think about that. You talk about the realm of being stuck, blocking your creativeness, your innovation. You're able to go in these spaces of higher consciousness to be a creative force through your intuitive thinking and your creative mind, which are the same side. You haven't you haven't integrated both sides. You're actually stopping the integration. You're actually putting something to stop it because you won't come out of that paradigm that never serves you, but actually leaves your toilet a mess, or your sinks, no water can go down, and your sink's to the rise and you can't use your sink no more. So what's the problem solving is not adding more water, turning the water, hoping that it goes down, right? That would be the old paradigm. The paradigm would be, how do I get it down? How do I flush a toilet? And usually by another way to do it, right? Come out of the old paradigm of just filling something up when it's filled. Come on now, right? We got a great video to share with you. You know me and the alchemist I've learned and actually integrated myself in understanding next level through what Sarah, the alchemist, has been, where I'm deep diving into alchemy. And I was led to her because I was like, I want to start teaching on alchemy. I know of it. I know a little bit, but I really not an expert at it. Let me deep dive. And I've been deep diving in it 6 months. I've been doing it. And it just started opening up to me. I started writing some things down. I wrote it 2.5 pages of just the revelations I'm getting. I've not shared here yet. I will one day. But yeah, let's go to this video. This is why you can't see the new earth. What is it? Do we suffer from what is paradigm blindness? Here we go.
One of the biggest blocks to creating a new earth is that collectively, humanity is stuck in paradigm blindness. So today I'm going to be talking about what paradigm blindness is, and at the end of this video, I will help you break through your paradigm blindness. Paradigm blindness is when we cannot see another way of life or any solutions beyond the current paradigm that we are operating from. So it's when we have belief systems that we are so conformed to that we actually view any solutions or anything that reside beyond our belief systems as dangerous, not practical, and not attainable. This is because we have been conditioned into a pathological way of viewing the world, and we simply cannot see past our own pathology. This is to the point where we don't even like the political figures on the world stage.
And that's what I was kind of hitting what she's saying. It's all in the same pool. And many will say, I will take this side of the pool because it's less than that side, or vice versa, or I always went to this side. Always. Paradigm blindness. This is especially going on now when you made one so bad, right, that everybody with any common sense, except those who are deep in paradigm, but it's all paradigm blindness. See, there's levels to this, even how much paradigm blindness you got. For some, the psyop is to say, this is so bad, we need the baby face, and I'm going to use a wrestling term, baby face, right, and heel. The one became so heelish that it ran people to the baby face. If you know what I mean. Let's listen to Sarah. I can go on all day about this. This is about listening to the paradigm blindness on many levels. Let's listen.
And we don't even know that we don't like them because we are so used to pathology that we actually think that we like these pathological figures and we cannot see their pathology because we are so thoroughly conditioned into pathology. Did I say pathology enough? So I'm not going to be focusing on any solutions outside of breaking us out of paradigm blindness, because any solutions that I offer are going to be turned into some sort of dangerous ism. And the real issue isn't with any of the isms
and chisms.
It's not with capitalism. It's not with communism. It's not with all of the different things in between those two polarities. The real issue is that we have a false premise. And the false premise is that we think that we're practicing any of these isms. All of these isms can be toxic or they could be really beneficial. The point is, we would never know because we've never practiced an ism. All we have ever experienced so far is a pathology using some sort of ism, whatever the ism is, because there's so many, as a human shield in order to carry out their pathology. We haven't even known capitalism in its true state. Right. Because the truth is, we have an oligarchy. We don't have capitalism. This isn't an opinion. This is a fact.
Fact.
We are ran by an oligarchy. An oligarchy is the manifestation of what happens when consciousness is not taking responsibility for itself. The two major lessons for humanity that are attached to this model are health and authority. Because when we defer too much blind faith into any system with...
What you call it? Too much what faith? Blind. Notice that key word. What are we talking about? The paradigm blindness. It makes you the blind or following the blind. This is the aspect of this arena that she kind of just mentioned, or not kind of, she mentioned, that I didn't literally say, but I see clearly. Even for me, it got so bad with that, I caught myself almost wanting to dip my toes, or kind of, in the concept of one of the other side, because living in a state that I do, and I've mentioned this before, but then the reality, and I had to shake it off, was true. But like she says, let her keep going. We haven't really, and the key word is, and I'll stop with this. I will follow up with a key word. She said the O word on my next video.
Without learning or becoming aware enough to consciously participate within it, then consciousness falls out of its own authority or health and into a state of disease. Metaphysically and esoterically, you cannot separate the concept of health from authority. In fact, health is the major lesson in this age, and it will lead you anywhere you need to be on your journey. So I'm not going to bring a new ism to the table because we're still unpacking paradigm blindness. We won't even be able to get to any type of ism that will actually be in alignment and in harmony with nature and with the universe at large if we are not able to identify pathology and the false premises that the foundation of this reality is based on. And one of the largest patterns that is fueling this blindness is that we have grown accustomed as a collective to actually putting our energy and our belief and our support behind people who we don't like, but it's actually because we like a different person, a different leader or figure, even less. So we aren't actually putting our energy behind causes and behind figures who we genuinely are in alignment with and support. Instead, what we are doing is looking for the closest group or faction that will protect us from what we view.
If you heard what I said, when I said it, I was looking more out of it through a protection of what I seen the other side doing. And I understood that. But the part of me that knew, I've known for a better part of 3 decades, even before I woke up, about, I call it poly tricks. Tricks are for kids, and I'll leave it there and decode that.
Is more dangerous. And this method, this feedback loop, is never going to lead to a positive outcome because it was never originated in the first place within our own self-responsibility and sovereignty. It was rooted instead in us just not liking one option, so therefore by default, well, we have to back this option. Do you see how this false dilemma, this false dichotomy is the real issue going on? And it's just dressed up in different regions of the world as different institutions and as different systems that we are all defending even though we don't like. Do you honestly think that we will create a positive new earth if what we are putting our energy in is defending things that we don't like? The answer is no. When we're in paradigm blindness, we get a false sense of camaraderie with other people who share our belief systems, not knowing that that bond between us is energized through a trauma bond. It's energized and strengthened simply because we...
Did you hear what she just said? Strengthened in trauma. Bond. Getting a bond of trauma, and then you'll run with the other, with that, instead of being healed, because there's no healing in either of them. I'm just going to be honest in what we were talking about. There's no healing in it. Even in this, they ain't looking to heal. But did you hear what she said? Going to a place because somebody has something in common with you, but you're both really dwelling in your traumas, but not healing them through the process of lifting yourself, the veil off yourself into your higher states, where that's where you do the inner work and has nothing to do with stay away, centered, left, right, get back, pump up, pud winks. Right here, the center of yourself.
Don't like, and we find another group extremely dangerous. And because of that, that makes our bond with whoever shares the closest thing to our belief system go super strong. And so it creates this density within us where we become calcified to anything that's outside of whatever our current paradigm, how we view the world is. Another strong sign of paradigm blindness is when we take on this exasperation or this helplessness where we throw our hands up in the air, like what else are we supposed to do? Anytime all of the plot holes and all of the fatal flaws get called out within our current paradigm.
I'll tell you, I'll share an experience I had that goes exactly with what she just said. I have an uncle, right, that I love dearly, one of my favorite uncles, but never could get past the religious mindset. And he asked me one day, what are you knowing? Like, what are you doing? What do you mean? He asked me a question. And he goes, what else am I supposed to choose if I don't choose this religious choice? And I looked at him and I realized he has no clue, because it was paradigm blindness was definitely on him. It's on everybody's experiences. We all have. Breaking out of it is what she's talking about.
It's like if we're not defending it, then what we're doing is defending the larger grand scheme of like nothing's perfect. So we use this excuse of there being like, you're never going to find perfection, or you scoff at whatever solutions arise, almost as it's like somebody searching for a utopia. And really, this is just our Stockholm syndrome that we've been.
Did you hear what she just said? It creates Stockholm syndrome paradigm blindness. This is without literally going in an MKM Ultra in a building with them who do it. It's being performed through the media. It's being performed through these agencies, being performed as what it is. And it can create the Stockholm, which is heavy. Heavy. Think about that. And look it up if you don't know what it is. I may have to do a video on that too.
Conditioned into from our paradigm. So what we're doing is defending it by going, well, nothing's perfect, when what's really happening is we're sitting in a swamp of toxicity and we don't want to acknowledge it. So there's all these different mechanisms that we use when we're in the state of paradigm blindness to deflect responsibility or to deflect our sovereignty. We don't want to look at dealing with the real root issues of what's wrong with our paradigm and shifting it from there. And instead we build on faulty foundation, and that creates more of a reality where there's more faulty foundations. So we're continuing to create a space-time reality that deflects responsibility and continues to defend pathology. How we actually begin to start breaking through our own paradigm blindness is by first becoming deeply honest with ourselves.
Listen to this. She said she ended with being honest with yourself. This is the part of breaking these patterns and these habits. This is change. This is glitching the matrix. Listen to what she's going to give some real dynamic message, how to structure the attack on changing it. Let's go.
As to why we resonate with who we resonate with. We don't see these figures clearly. I could promise you if we did, we would not be in alignment with them. But we're so used to toxicity that we actually cannot discern. So discernment is the first step here. We have to begin to discern what toxic and pathological features are versus what is not, without holding our belief systems on a pedestal, because this step is going to stop us in our tracks from continuing to lend our energy into negative creations. So the first step is being able to call back our energy and to assess whether we are resonating with what we resonate with because we genuinely resonate with it, or if we are resonating with certain belief systems or institutions or groups, whatever it may be, simply because, well, what's the better option? You see there? That's paradigm blindness. That's us not being in our sovereignty as we're creating. Anytime.
Did you hear what she just said? And she made a thing, because we're not in our sovereignty, we'll go into that which was created for us, that's in the blind paradigm. That's heavy. That's Stockholm syndrome. But listen to what she's telling us to do. It's coming.
That we cannot identify toxic masculinity and toxic femininity that's being played out on the world stage. And any time that we are lending our energy through support to the manifestations of these groups, that is us giving our energetic free will and our sovereignty away to negative manifestations. And that just sets up more space-time to continue playing out more of the same negative manifestations. So not only is this us not creating from our sovereignty, this is also us lending our support to a very abusive paradigm. It doesn't matter which ism we find superior, because if we are not collectively rooted within our sovereignty, meaning we're taking self-responsibility, then none of the...
Now see, that's what she's saying is this comes with the price of doing the work. Meaning growth, activating stuff, activating responsibility. integrity, which is within us. Well, I've taught so much that we've been taught to go be mature, go be disciplined, and it's always out here trying to get it. When really it's in here. You're equipped with it, activate it. This is very powerful.
Are going to be able to create a positive outcome. So discernment is key here, as well as being completely honest with ourselves. Now, the third step in breaking through our collective paradigm blindness, after we've cultivated the discernment and the honesty to stop defending our current paradigm and to see it clearly, is by understanding that creative solutions are a natural byproduct of shifting into a higher consciousness version of ourselves, meaning that the reason why we can't see solutions beyond our current paradigm is because we don't reside outside of our current paradigm. But once we're able to break through that paradigm,
we can't come out solutions outside our paradigm unless we break through the paradigm. That's gold. That statement right there is very golden. It is a foundational truth, I'm telling you. I hear. That's a foundational truth, what she just said, that needs to be simmered in comprended. Because sometimes I know people say, well, it's just the conscious community or the conscious stuff. It is for you to make it go up so you can have the true solutions that you're trying to find in a lower realm that aren't there. That's the problem, not consciousness. It's you staying in the same consciousness and the same paradigm. Come on now, bring it, Sarah.
We will start seeing creative solutions everywhere. They're just going to look dangerous to the people that are still inside the paradigm blindness. So that's why I'm not going to go into depth with any solutions. We have to become aware that solutions that appear radical because they reside outside of our current paradigm require us to become a radically different version of ourselves so that we shift out of this paradigm and now are able to access new ways of life and conscious living that reflect the new version of ourselves. When we suffer from paradigm blindness, we are not able to visualize what life would be like outside the current model of reality that we were born into. So we search for solutions within the same paradigm that is creating the very problems that we are trying to remedy. But what is beyond this paradigm requires our sovereignty. First, it requires us to radically rethink what health is. Health in every sense of the word possible, starting with its most basic physical manifestation, which is healthcare. And then every layer after that, till its most mystical aspect is revealed. The key to a new earth, or to whatever you resonate with as the paradigm shift, is by entirely rewiring your understanding of health. When you follow this trail, you will naturally shift into a new paradigm. And the meaning of what I just said will become deeper the more you understand this. So it requires us to change in order to step out of the current apathy and inertia that is ruling this paradigm blindness. One of the biggest challenges in the spirit of this age, meaning that in this time period we are meant to learn certain lessons that other time periods didn't have highlighted. And one of the most highlighted lessons and challenges within this time period is that we are cultivating a vigilance. So this is becoming informed, taking in a lot of data about health in particular and all the different aspects of our health, and learning how to not become so overwhelmed by all of the information that we're learning, but learning how to incorporate this information into our lifestyle. This leads people to a lot of exasperation because they're not in alignment with the challenge of cultivating vigilance. But once we start to cultivate vigilance, it actually gets easier. It can actually become really fun to learn about what the healthiest source of water is. It's just not fun at first because we're overwhelmed by so much of the truth of this reality being as toxic and poisoning as it is. And then we become...
And this would cause, like she said earlier, what do we do? You have to break the paradigm to get the answers, is what she said. This makes total sense because I've heard that. People said that to me where I was holding a hope, but there's something that connected from the last year, and even the last six to 7, 8 weeks for me, the next level of stuff. I'm just gonna be honest. And this totally makes total sense.
become overwhelmed by coming to terms with the fact that there are institutions that want to poison us in the first place. So there's a lot of overwhelm in general when it comes to spiritual awakening. And at every new level, we're asked to be able to cultivate a stronger level of resilience and vigilance. That's why health is one of the strongest lessons and also one of the most popular catalysts that people have to awaken in the first place. So the struggle through awakening of taking in more data is the process that actually creates a version of ourselves that shifts beyond this paradigm. And when we're able to shift beyond this paradigm, we're able to start seeing new systems of life that are in more resonance and harmony with the universe at large. Another way of saying all of this is that we need to take salvation into our own hands by becoming a conscious version of ourselves that is beyond this paradigm. Because the version of ourselves that resides beyond this paradigm is the version of ourselves that can manifest a world beyond this paradigm. And we can't do that if we are making excuses for our current paradigm. I hope this has helped you break through your paradigm blindness. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for higher dimensional guidance through spiritual awakenings.
That was powerful. I'm telling you that paradigm blindness is all over the place. But what I like is the sincerity, and what I'm experiencing is quit trying to fix things in a paradigm that it doesn't work. You have to come outside your box by how do you lift yourself up out of the certain state of paradigm you're in, because we tend to dwell on the paradigm instead of doing the work on integrating ourselves, which when we integrate ourselves, 3D now becomes a cross, and now you're going up into higher realms where the answers are, because the more you go up, the more it's organized, the more it's the 3D level, chaos and confusion and far away and duality seem to be just rampant. Not saying there's sun going up, but it's almost like I see you. But here it's like like she said, you wake up and you're like, frick, this with the water, this with the heck we do. The answers aren't in this paradigm where it's at. The solution comes before the problem in math, and the solution means soul or sun. You guys have a great day. I'm not gonna say too much more because she said a lot and I interrupted her a lot, but I was revelating on that stuff. And so we're gonna cash out for now. We will be back soon and I told you I'd follow up with a certain word that she said early in this video that she did not repeat, but I will follow up with it. You guys have a great day.